Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday version of the Rockland Metro
Is
Show.
there some other version?
No, but I wanted to see if you were paying attention.
So,
Yes, we meet here every Wednesday from 5 to 6.
have we missed? When's the last time we missed a Wednesday?
It must have been during... Didn't they have a virus going around?
Yeah, but I don't think we missed a show. I think we did the show.
I did two by Zoom.
Yeah, we Zoomed some.
Yeah, we did it. We did it by
We did a
Zoom
lot of
sometimes,
Zooms.
and sometimes it was partly in the studio, partly Zoom.
We don't really miss much because, we're both kind of retired.
We're
we
old.
don't
We
really
got
have
nothing
anything
better
else
to
to
do.
do.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Unlike,
but our listeners might have something better to do, so we ought to try to make the show interesting.
We ought to get right into
But
it.
Steve, how could it
Work
not be
on
interesting?
that.
I know. Well, I think the guests are what make it interesting.
Really?
And the guest tonight on our show is David Gogel, and he is the director of
I recognize
and
it.
I always get this wrong, okay? It's the downtown...
So it's actually Rockland Main Street.
Rockland Main. See, I always call it the Downtown Merchants
But the
Association.
website, it's a little confusing because it says Rockland Downtown, Rockland Main Street, okay?
Yeah.
But the formal name of the organization is Rockland Main Street.
Correct. So the rocklandmainstreet.org is the
Yes.
organizational website.
All right.
During the pandemic, what we realized was we had an opportunity to use our platform to kind of be a little bit more community-facing versus kind of about the organization. Because most people who are coming to the Main Street program are looking to find out about the downtown. So we created rocklanddowntown.com as kind of a community-facing website where we're posting information about ongoing events, or you can also submit your own event.
Right.
More of a community portal for downtown versus a website for rocklandmainstreet.org, the organization.
All right. So there are two websites.
Yeah. Yes, most people who are looking to find out information about downtown, though, would go to rocklanddowntown.com.
Okay.
So if you want to find out information about rocklandmainstreet.org, you're welcome to call me up.
So I see. Is there rocklandmainstreet.org has a website too?
Correct. And again, that's more for if people want to, if people are looking for information about the organization or looking to donate, but most people, if you want to get involved in the community or know what's going on in the community, we'd rather you go to rocklanddowntown.com to learn all about the great stuff going on in downtown.
So there's not really any difference between these two things.
No, I think the point of clarification that I think Steve's half joking, but I think as an organization, we're really about bringing the community downtown and preserving and enhancing kind of the downtown, not necessarily the downtown merchants group. I think we're supported in a big way by the downtown businesses because we all have, they're major stakeholders in a vibrant downtown. But the Main Street program is really about historic preservation and kind of creating a vibrant downtown, not necessarily business advocacy, if you will.
Yeah. Well, the big thing that we wanted to talk about tonight, we've got a lot of things I'd like to talk about, but the big thing is the upcoming event here downtown. And maybe you could tell us the wheres and the whens and the whats. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think, so I'd love to, we are in summer solstice mode, so I would love to talk a lot about summer solstice and the dock party. We're thrilled to bring them back after having to cancel for the last few years because of the pandemic. But I think summer solstice is a good example of what we're talking about, right? For many of our businesses, it's a day where they might not see a higher sales volume or more transactions or even more people walking through their storefront. It's really about celebrating the community. For a lot of people that come down, they're just coming down to participate in any like the free activities that we have for kids or engage with different things. It's really about bringing the community together, and that's why I know we joke back and forth, but it's really about community and bringing community down there, not necessarily always about the businesses.
Right, and a lot of music too.
Yeah, there's going to be 4 bands on Main Street. Paul Benjamin, who most people know, who does the Blues Fest and kind of does all the music programming for Rockland Main Street, has organized 4 bands to be playing throughout Main Street from 4 to 7 next Saturday, and then Red House, the band is going to be playing at Journey's End Marina for the dock party from 6 to 10.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Why not? Why not? I thought that was the whole idea.
Well,
Tough.
Do it.
You're the tough guy. I'm the nice guy, all right? This is good cop, bad cop.
Hit me with the
right?
tough questions.
Okay, the tough question is, do you know the names of the groups or what kind of music they're going to be playing?
So that's a good question. So we will be sending out an update on the bands that are going to be playing, I believe, on Friday. Most of the music is really dance, is dance-friendly, kind of rock, blues, kind of pop folk on Main Street. And then the band for the dock party is Red House is really kind of rock, blues focused, very, very danceable music. The whole point of this was like we want people to come down, dance with their kids on the street party. If you're over 21, come down to the dock party and dance in the evening. But really about kind of energetic, kind of fun, upbeat music.
I guess we should start at the beginning, though. Actually.
Really.
Yes, which is, when is this going to be?
Yeah, thanks. So the summer solstice is Saturday, June 18th, so coming right up, not this Saturday.
Of course, that's not the solstice. That's when you're celebrating.
It is not the solstice. It is when we were celebrating the solstice.
Well, it is a solstice celebration.
Yes, but the solstice is an astronomical event.
Yes. When is the solstice? Thursday, maybe?
Well,
Next
it's
Thursday?
usually the
Isn't it the
20th or the
21st?
21st, but I'm not sure. It's not always. It's usually the 21st.
Oh, you remember?
It's the
Yeah, you're
20th.
right. It's yes.
Yeah.
So historically, in Rockland,
You want to do it on the weekends.
Yeah, it's been on that Saturday. It's usually I think it's almost always the Saturday, the day before that Father's Day, and we're thrilled to kind of bring it back. Like I said, we haven't been able to have it for the last 2 years. It is a celebration of the solstice, but it's also kind of, for many people, it kind of kicks off the summer season in Rockland. I know people have been missing it. We hear every year people were missing it. We tried last year to kind of thread a needle and do a solstice light in August, but had to cancel because cases were spiking with Delta. So we really haven't had this for the last few years, and we're bringing it back, like I said. So not this Saturday, but next Saturday.
So the 18th.
Yep, and the street party starts at 4. The street will be closed starting at 3 o'clock to allow for a setup. We have everybody from the Y and a lot of youth organizations and like the Coast Guard's coming down with a boat, and we'll have Lobster Festival's bringing Rocky down. There'll be a lot of setup that needs to happen, so that'll happen between 3 and 4. We want all the community to come down starting at 4. There'll be activities and things going on the street from 4 to 7, and then for those who are over 21 that typically love to come down to the dock party and have some drinks overlooking the breakwater and in that beautiful space down at Journey's End Marina. That starts at 6. DJ Dan Miller will be kicking things off, and then Red House will come on around 7, and that will run till 10 o'clock, and then everybody's welcome to
and
mosey up to
food
Main Street.
vendors?
Yeah, so as you can imagine, with kind of staffing stuff, we're still ironing out exactly who's going to be down there. But we have a handful of food vendors, everything from ice cream and different kind of food options. So there'll be food and dessert kind of food vendors on Main Street, as well as some of our restaurants are kind of planning special things to do as well. And Rock City Cafe is going to be doing something out on the street. So our downtown restaurants and cafes are planning on doing some things. Everybody will plan to be open, and we'll have additional kind of food trucks and vendors down there as well. And we'll have, there'll be bubbles and chalk art and lots of activities for kids. And then we're also hoping people who just want to come down and walk downtown and hang out and in that family-friendly environment do so. We hope people bring their dogs down and really, really enjoy the street. And I think it's going to be a great, it's going to be a great day. Like I said, it might look and feel a little bit different than people are used to, but we're trying to bring back all the things that typically happen, and everybody that has staff and is able to participate is participating. So I think it should be a great day.
And you're going to be here, Steve? You're going to be back from Millinocket? Steve has
Yes,
been going up to...
yeah.
He's got this cabin up there he's
Up
working
the
on.
North Wood.
Yeah. But you'll be back, and you're going to help with because we're going to try to sort of cover from 4 to 6. We're going to be bringing our remote transmitter down there and broadcasting live from Main Street, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully you get there in time for the whoopie pie eating contest, which is...
When is that?
So the registration is going to start at 4. The actual contest will start at 6, and there's going to be
we're going to miss that
now,
because we got
Rockland
another
Cafe
show at 6.
Are the ones that usually do that?
Yeah, it's the Wayne Steves Memorial Whoopie Pie Eating Contest. So they donate the whoopie pies, and they're also offering a gift certificate for the winners. So there's there's 3 categories, kind of under the young kids, the teenagers, and then the adults, and there'll be 10 contestants for each one.
Yeah, so
well, that's great. It's encouraging good health, and especially young people.
Well, I was going to say, the whoopie pie eating contest is one of my.
We're not going to go there. We're going to miss that because we're actually only there from 4 to 6. So that will save us.
Maybe you can interview some of the contestants.
Problems.
Yes, teaching children to gouge themselves with sugar.
Well, I told you we're going to give you a hard time.
That's fine. I have a 5 and a 7-year-old, and I welcome the opportunity to have them eat lots of whoopie pies and run around. That's why we have all the activities there.
Right, I can just see their faces now, with all the cream and everything.
Well, I like whoopie pies, and it's nice that the Rockland Cafe is going to do that.
It's a wonderful tradition, and I think that part of what this is about is just, I think everybody's excited for the summer. I think everybody understands that we're still dealing with a lot of kind of staffing challenges and just kind of like I think if you've been downtown, you see everybody's really working hard to try and make it a good season, and this is a fun way to kick it off, and we just hope as many people come down as possible and enjoy it because it's
tell us
outdoors,
about some of the
fun.
other vendors and activities that are going to be there.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that we're focused on this year is making sure that there's a lot of things for kids. We heard was that what people really love about the summer solstice is that there's just so many free activities for kids. Yeah. So there's going to be an art lab, outdoor art lab on Winter Street. The Farnsworth is going to be doing something. The Strand's going to be free and open to the public, where your kids are going to be able to go in. They're going to be having cartoons kind of on a loop where you can just walk in at no cost and check out the cartoons. The YMCA is coming down and going to be doing kind of an activity. We have
what kind of activity do you think they're going to do?
That's a secret, Joe. You have to come down.
Oh my God! No,
you don't have to come down. Our Youth Alliance.
He doesn't know. That's
not true. That's not true. I'm just not going to tell you. There's going to be cornhole and life-size Jenga, and there's going to just be a lot of fun activities. Joe's trying to get me to give away all the stuff. So you have to come down. I'm not going to bury the lead. You have to come down.
So June 18th, Saturday, June 18th.
4 to 7 on Main Street and 6 to 10.
Down at Journeys and Marine.
Down at Journeys and Marine.
That's
for adults.
So it is strictly 21 plus, and it's strictly 21 plus, cash only, and we really, really hope that people come down and enjoy the view. It's such a unique spot. We were down there today, kind of mapping things out, making sure everything was organized. And I'm just reminded every time I'm down there how lucky we are to be able to have that as a location. I mean, the O'Hare family and Journeys and Marina is just so generous to let us use that, and it's beautiful. And it's something that I know everybody's been asking about. Like I said, we tried last year to get that window after having to cancel it twice, and we had to cancel it again, and we're thrilled to be able to bring it back. And I mean, speaking of Journeys and Marina, I also want to say it is really great to see all the support from businesses and organizations in the community. Just as we've tried to pull this together, everybody has bent over backwards to try and make this happen. A lot of volunteers, a lot of businesses, a lot of organizations supporting it. So,
well, the summer solstice is one event that will happen one weekend in June, but there's so many other things that are going on downtown, and I wanted to spend some time. We're talking with Dave Kogel, who is the director of Rockland Main Street.
You got it. There you go.
I'll eventually get it. As we've talked about on the show before, I think you've been on 4 or 5 times, and we've talked about all the changes going on downtown, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to sort of blow your horn here a little bit, if you could, and sort of talk about the different things that are going on downtown. I know that This year, we got some advancement on these bump outs things, whatever we're calling them, and there were supposed to be 2, right? And one's all done, and the other one is not.
Yeah, happy to speak. I can speak to that.
Yeah. Okay.
So one, for those who, I don't want to assume that everybody heard our last conversation, right? So Steve, you were on a city committee, an ad hoc traffic committee, and throughout that process, I forget the gentleman's name who originally brought it up, but the whole committee really seemed to think that this idea of creating bump outs on Main Street.
Bump out meaning, for people who are listening who don't know what we're talking about, it's basically widening the sidewalk, taking some of the parking spaces and making them sidewalks so that there's room for outdoor seating in front of some restaurants, basically.
So yes, and I think that what the committee had focused on was areas where, yes, it would allow for additional kind of use in outdoor seating and use from restaurants and other businesses, but also areas where it would create natural pinch points that could slow traffic down on Main Street while maintaining 2 lanes of traffic. So specifically, we were looking at areas where we had longer crosswalks. Where extending the sidewalk would make that crosswalk potentially safer to cross. And the other thing is, when looking at a lot of these traffic studies and through conversations with the committee that Steve was a part of, there seemed to be general consensus that when you add sidewalk extensions, right, if you want to call them something other than bump out or any of these other things that create visual cues, that this is a different, this is a pedestrian-friendly area, or there's something different going on, that cars naturally slow down. So the bump out that was completed, kind of there at Glover's Passage in Maine, like in front of Ada's and Rockland Cafe. That was really extending a bump out that was already there to try and make that area more enjoyable, but also to that crosswalk, make that safer to cross. The other area that was slotted to get done, and we can speak to why we're still working on that, was Joe in front of Suzuki. I mean, technically, actually, right in front of Suzuki, because you have that crosswalk right in front.
Right. This is the sidewalk, which is in front of the 3 restaurants in a row there. Yeah,
North Beacon, Suzuki, and Inca Company. Yeah, and but again, so not only do you have 3 restaurants there, but that crosswalk, and again, so my office is right above there, because my office is actually right above Suzuki. Right, so I cross that sidewalk multiple times a day, because if I go post office, my bank, everything, I'm crossing that sidewalk, and because of the way the traffic flows, and especially if there's a car parked there or somebody's kind of temporarily parked in that loading zone, you have to step out into the street a little bit to make it known that you're crossing, and you can't see if that second car is going to stop. So the bump outs or the sidewalk extensions were 8 feet. Bump outs. So essentially, you're making that crosswalk 8 feet shorter for somebody to cross, which just naturally makes it safer. There's less of space there, and you're more likely to have cars slow down there. And yes, it has the added benefit of 3 restaurants that were trying to utilize outdoor dining can now use that space. Also, if you were to take a bird's eye view of downtown, you would see that the sidewalk is different. It's different lengths. And so the other thing here is that this project was designed to, over time, add more and more space that kind of creates a more uniform kind of sidewalk width from a pedestrian standpoint, that makes it a little more enjoyable experience downtown.
So, I mean, there are various good reasons, it seems to me, for doing it, but there is a conflict between parking spaces and more sidewalk. So, what is, your constituents, if you will, well, maybe that's not the right word, but you work with the merchants downtown. So what is the general feeling? Is there unhappiness about the idea that there will be fewer parking spaces on Main Street?
Yeah, so first, so I definitely want to talk about that. I just also want to, I'm realizing that we didn't close the loop on why that bump out isn't finished yet.
Oh,
so
right,
let me
right.
finish that thought, and then we'll pivot. But on that,
The one in front of Suzuki's.
yeah, and so and Joe, you were there for that conversation, so you could speak to this as well. But the essentially what it comes down to is the pitch is different all along Main Street, and there was concern from the construction company that it would cause flooding in the basement of the buildings there on Main Street if they did the bump out. So where that so they took multiple kind of attempts to try and come up with a solution. There wasn't anything that everybody felt wouldn't cause some of the flooding there. So the city has engaged an engineer to take a look at it, and from last conversation, the goal is to try and work through, find a solution, and then obviously not disrupt the our busy summer season, but following the season, try and get that built out. So certainly still trying to make that a reality. And what we're seeing, right, if anybody who's been on Main Street lately, you'll see that businesses on Main Street are utilizing Jersey barriers again this year, because we're one more year trying to have a temporary solution because we don't have all those permanent bump outs. But you're able to see, if you're driving down Main Street and you see, and there's more coming as more people get those applications in. There's a lot of interest in having outdoor dining on Main Street, which kind of gets to your question. What's the general kind of appetite or interest? And I think the other thing that's good about the permanent hardscape is you're actually utilizing less parking spaces than with the Jersey barriers, because Main Street is Route 1. The Jersey barriers have to be.
Right. I mean, there's no question that it's better to build out the sidewalk and do this, in an attractive way.
Oh, your question is more of just like
say Jersey barrier. So, I mean that the sidewalk bump outs are a better solution than the Jersey barriers. I don't know that anybody could argue that, except that it's, the Jersey barriers are seasonal. I suppose so you could say you get the parking in winter. But putting that aside, just in general, there are parking spaces on Main Street. This plan of having more sidewalk and less parking is bound to create some conflicts with some people liking it and some people not. So
sure, I think that's. I think because of the few spaces that you're talking about in terms of what you're getting, I think if you're anybody who's kind of paying attention to the sentiment, right, and again the kind of reaction, you'd see that generally there is positive support for this idea, because you were losing again strategically, an underutilized loading zone, extending a bump out and kind of utilizing kind of these space that was more like a half space. And should both bump outs have been done, there was conversation around also potentially restriping to try and maximize the parking that was available there.
But still, there is some loss of parking.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So there is a trade-off there, and I'm not bringing this up in order to argue that we shouldn't be doing it.
Oh, no.
I think it really is. I'm going to make an argument for doing it, okay, even though it's inconvenient at times. Just for example, in front of Suzuki's, there'll be less room for people to pull over to deliver stuff, but we have. Most of our deliveries come in the back, and that's more convenient anyway, so it's not a big deal. What I think is that people who are just sort of rushing around in their cars, looking to shop here or shop there, park close and run in and get something, more and more they satisfy that desire by going to the Walmart or going to the Hannafords or going to basically one of our shopping centers, okay? So the attraction of Main Street is I mean, there was a time when all of the business was on Main Street. Now, I don't know, do you know the numbers, of retail business in Rockland, Maine? How much of it is it on Main Street, and how much of it is at the shopping centers?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I think we're seeing a lot of it's different retail. I think we talked about this maybe on my first or second visit. It's like the type of retail we see downtown is different. But I mean, we have a new boutique jewelry store who's coming up here. She moved her whole life in her business up here from Atlanta. We have Maine Sport, Maine Sport that's opened up. We have new bookstore. We have new boutiques. We have new retail that's coming. I mean, you have
the Grasshopper shop.
But, well, I'm just talking about the new retail that's opened up in the last few months. We have Anchor retail like Loyal Biscuit and the Grasshopper shop, of course. And I think part of what I'm getting at, and I want to make sure. So we're talking about two things. We're talking about, is there general consensus that losing some parking is good for the vitality of downtown? And we're also talking about the future of downtown and retail downtown, right?
Yeah. So
just to kind of, I think most people agree that creating a vibrant downtown is good for everybody, and that we surveyed the downtown prior to council considering this at the beginning of the year, and we also surveyed the downtown as a part of the ad hoc traffic committee. And overall, and I know I cited the actual stats a couple of times ago when I was in here, and I don't have them in front of me, but their general consensus is their support for this amongst the downtown businesses, and based on the numbers that we're seeing of people that want to sit outside and people that do sit outside, based on the general community. Now, of course, are there people that would say they would prioritize parking over all else? Sure. And I would say the anecdotal kind of conversations, as well as the overall evidence, would suggest that that's not necessarily the best thing for a vibrant downtown, that you want to have a good mix, and that you want to think about the walkability as well as how easy it is to park. And on the retail side of things, I would say I'm extremely optimistic and bullish on retail on Main Street. I think, like we've talked about, it's a different type of retail. If you're looking to have a transactional interaction with retail, you're probably going to either go to a big box store, or you're probably going to do that online. That when you shop downtown, you're looking to have a textured interaction with somebody in your community. You're looking
you need to define that textured interaction.
You're looking to have a conversation. You're looking to engage. You're coming down for more than just the transaction.
You're coming into Rockland, parking your car and walking around downtown. Okay, that's what we want people to do. You're not generally just pulling up in front of the store and parking there and rushing in and getting something. You're generally coming to be in downtown. Maybe you go out to eat, maybe you go check out what's at the Grasshopper shop, or you look at some of the galleries, whatever. It's a destination.
Right.
But I think my point on the textured piece is, like, when you go into the Grasshopper shop, you're not going in to buy a puzzle. Right? It's like you're going in to buy a puzzle and have an interaction and have an experience. If you're looking to just buy a puzzle, well, you know what I mean? I don't know if
you might very well have other business that you want to do in Rockland at the same time, okay?
Yeah. You might want to go to the coffee shop. You might want to go have a sandwich. You might want to,
We're not disagreeing with you.
I'm sold. No.
But one of the things you mentioned, and I think this is important, you just mentioned some lady that just opened up a shop, and she said she relocated her whole life.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what I got thinking about when you were talking about that is, people don't relocate their whole life and make major investments in an area without looking at the parking as an issue. And if they are going ahead and opening a business, then in their mind, parking is not an issue.
Well, I think what we're seeing is, it's a good point, and I don't want to speak for her, but I know we were having conversations when she was looking at where she wanted to go and where she was thinking, and she was looking at a number of locations, and she just felt like the energy and the vibrancy in Rockland was really, really special, and that's why she moved her business here. And the same goes for, I mean, even if you read the quotes from Maine Sport and understanding why they opened up in Rockland, there's an energy downtown, and I think that energy supports this next wave of retail. But it's a different thing. As it relates, again, to circle back to parking. Parking's always going to be something that people talk about, but I think we have to ask ourselves the question, like, what's the total kind of impact here? And it's like we have to take all these things into consideration. It's not just how quickly can I find a parking spot. It's how easy, like, how easy is it to find parking? How easy is it to find parking if you have challenge, if you're mobility challenged, like how easy is it to find parking if you truly are, need to get in and out, right? All those things are important, but there's also, if you want to have an enjoyable experience walking around downtown, if you want to live downtown, what is that like? I know as somebody who has an office downtown, I mean, everybody says, hey, we don't have issues with some of these things that we've talked about, but I
mean, Portland is booming, okay? Portland, Maine is booming, okay? And parking is a huge problem in Portland, okay? And people put up with it. Parking is, you want to go down to Portland to do something, it's not easy to find a place to park in Portland. But they seem to manage, okay?
It's not easy to find a parking spot in Camden. If you went to Camden today and tried to find a parking spot, good luck.
So
but
that's a good sign, okay?
That's why
people want to go there. Yeah. But I want to, talking about Main Street and how we can change Main Street, traffic on Main Street, slowing traffic, etc. One of the problems for us is that it's Route 1, and our power to decide how we want to handle that street is limited because the state says, no, wait a minute, this is a state road, and an important one, and you can't do this and you can't do that, and you need our permission. So it seems to me that a very simple solution to that problem, okay, but this isn't original with me, is right now anybody who knows their way up the coast of Maine knows that unless you're going to Rockland or Thomaston, okay, or maybe southern Rockport, you take Route 17, not 1790, okay? That's what you do. You take Route 90 across. That's a shorter way to get to Bar Harbor or Belfast or Camden, okay?
Well, the new Rockland bypass, Old County Road.
Well, but that's a little different because basically Old County Road...
I had to get that.
And you live on Old County Road, and traffic on Old County Road isn't a good thing from your point of view, and for a lot of people it's not, okay?
But you'd hear the same argument from Broadway. As a matter of fact, we did hear about that a month or so ago.
Or Broadway, right, which is Route 1A, okay? But it's sort of, just see, now, I don't know how much it would actually change traffic, because most people who aren't coming up the coast of Maine for the first time, if they're going to Camden from Portland, they know to take Route 90. But so I don't think it would change a lot, except maybe we'd snag a fewer tourists who are just decided that they want to go up, But they don't seem to have any trouble having tourists in Boot Bay Harbor. Okay, that's not on Route 1. I just think it would make a lot of sense for us. And unlike Broadway or Old County Road, the people who have businesses there would not be objecting, and it's not particularly residential there, okay? I don't think there'd be any objection at all. They'd be delighted out there. So why don't we do that? Why don't we promote that? And would Rockland merchants be unhappy about that?
While you're thinking, I'm just going to say that you're listening to the Metro Show on WRFR.
Well, we'll have a silence, okay? A little silence.
Well, I let him ponder that thought for just a moment because it is 5:30 and I've got to get the station ID in.
And also, you didn't mention that this is also on TV.
Well, yeah, that's because I wanted you to do it.
Okay, so, and that is a cool thing. This is the only show right now on WRFR which is also simulcast on television, and it's Maine Coast Television. And Craig, who's right behind that window there, is switching between cameras and making it happen. He does a great job, and you can watch it.
The big thing is the YouTube presence. He's got us up on YouTube
Does
now.
he?
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
He's
So
got
what do you have
several-
to? What do you? So. But let me finish explaining how you
Okay,
get the
all right.
show live. You can watch us live. So if you're listening and you think, oh, it'd be cool fun to watch, and see how ugly we are, you can go to. If you've got cable, it's Channel 7, Maine Coast Television, and if you don't have cable, you can get it by going to maincoast.tv. Maine Coast, one word, .tv.
So it's you go into Maine Coast TV.
And you can click on
On that.
and you
The
can
little palm tree. You look for the little palm tree. It says Maine Coast TV, and then you click on that, and it takes you to a thing that says videos.
yes.
And you click on that, and that takes you
So, but
to the videos.
there have always been some videos that were there that you could get, but now you say it's also on YouTube.
Yes.
So if you go to YouTube and you look for Rockland Metro Show, you'll
Well, no,
actually
you go
find
to
it.
YouTube and you look at Maine Coast TV, and you look for the little palm tree. You
Well,
put
you
in.
can't look for a palm tree when you go.
Well,
when
no,
you do
but
a
I mean,
search
there's-
on YouTube. You can't look for a palm tree.
Well, there might be
you
like
gotta,
six
you gotta
Maine
put
Coast
some words
TVs,
in
but
there.
I'm saying,
Craig, what could you? How do you find it on?
He's
on
sleeping.
YouTube?
Don't wake him
Oh
up.
my God,
Right.
he's not sleeping. He's actively there, but because
I just told you.
You just, as Steve said, you go to YouTube.
Yeah, I go to
search for Maine Coast TV,
yes,
and maybe I'll be able to put a keyword in for Rockland Metro.
yeah,
If you go for
Rockland
Maine
Metro,
Coast
yeah.
TV, and you'll get a list of things you can click on. One of them
Yeah.
is says Maine Coast TV with a little palm tree next to it. You click
Yeah.
on that, and then you click on videos, and there you all the videos.
I see. Okay, so you can look for Maine Coast TV and follow that, or
Yeah.
you can look for Rockland
well,
Metro.
hopefully soon Rockland
Okay,
Metro.
all right. Okay, thank you, Craig.
You never listen.
What?
You never
I never
listen.
listen.
You never listen. It's the
I
same
never
thing
do.
I said to
'Cause
my
I'm so
wife. You
busy
never
talking.
listen to me.
Yeah.
So we're talking with Dave Gogel, who is the executive director. I'm going to call you the executive director. Right? I think it has a better ring to it. But anyway, of the Rockland Main Street, and we're talking about all things
Main Street.
downtown Rockland.
Main Street. So I was asking a question about just telling the state, why not make Route 17 Route 1, okay, and then call this Route 1A or whatever they'd like to do. What about that? Would merchants be like, oh, we can't do that? It just, to me, it makes so much sense. Then we can do what the heck we want with Main Street.
Yeah. So you asked me what would the sentiment be on Main Street,
Yeah.
and based on, so obviously it's a hypothetical that we haven't gathered data on. So that's hard to speak to. But based on other data points that we have gathered and conversations that we have had, I would think that you would probably see it pretty split with a lean slightly toward people being open to that. I think I think if we polled,
I think it would be fun to see what, to actually do a poll, directly, and who would be invited to, everybody who's got a business in Rockland, I guess.
I mean, I think you'd want to talk to. I think you'd want to survey all the stakeholders, right? I think that's
so
part
who
of.
else besides a business, residents? But I don't think that for residents, I don't see that it's really about people would not like it because. I don't think it's because I want to live near Route 1. I like the idea. I think it's Route 1 brings traffic and business, and so let's keep it Route 1.
Yeah.
I think it's about people who have businesses in Rockland.
Sure, I was more saying like you have like organizations that necessarily don't have we wouldn't consider merchants, but have like economic concerns downtown, like so.
Such as?
I'm thinking of like some of the larger nonprofits that like thinking from I don't know, like does it affect them at all in terms of other things?
We don't care about nonprofits because they don't
care.
pay the freight.
I've had enough with that.
Okay.
I don't
and
think
our
that's
number,
really the
if you
issue.
disagree with that, by the way, is 593-0013. I'm dying to get a call from the Farnsworth and tell us all of the things they do for us.
Really? Have you lined that up? Because
I'm waiting, because that's the standard.
You can't expect somebody to.
But anyway.
But what about the question about Route 1 and whether so that's something that people probably have opinion about, and if you do and you're out there, 593-0013, or if you're representing the Farnsworth Museum, that's fine.
I would also, I would say that I do think the Farnsworth does a lot for the community too. I would say that again, my role is really to not to share what I personally feel. That's not what you're asking. You specifically asked, what do I think the merchants would think, and I'm telling you, I think based on the few years kind of that throughout the pandemic that I've been doing this job, I think that's what you would. I think that's what you would see. I would think you would see there to be some interest, but to have it be a little bit more split than you might think. But also, I think part of it is, and something that I've learned over the last few years is, if you're going to survey a group, you should be able to make a decision based on the results of that that data gathering. And to your point, that's a much larger conversation. But I do think, Steve and I have had many conversations about this, that there's thinking long term about the future of downtown and the traffic pattern is really, really important, because more and more people are coming downtown. They want to walk around and they want to have an enjoyable experience walking around downtown.
Right, and to me, the big ugly thing is those ugly Jersey barriers, and I know there's a lot of people that think they're wonderful, but I just hate that ugly green color.
How do you feel about the bump outs then, Steve?
The bump outs are wonderful. I love the bump outs. I just wish I understand that there's a semi-tractor trailer truck coming at 60 miles an hour down Main Street. You've got to have a Jersey barrier.
But as soon as you have it a bump out, then it just be a curb, and that's all you need, right?
But your point is really Joe's point, right? So like, if it wasn't Route 1, we could have planters with flowers, and it would look very different.
I go down to the Old Port section. My wife has a couple of stores she loves down there. We go down there on either Saturday or Sunday, and the thing, and I've taken pictures, and I should send them to you, but they have a lot of these parklets down there, down in the Old Port. No Jersey barriers.
Yeah, but it's not Route 1.
It's not Route 1, yeah.
Right, Route 1 is a big factor in this. They're always telling us we can't do this, we can't do that.
Yeah.
And it's understandable. It's that's their highway, and they it's about getting the trucks through. So if it wasn't Route 1, we could do anything we wanted there.
Yeah, it may make a big difference. But just getting back one last second about the Jersey barriers. Those planters, those cement planters you have on the end of Oak Street.
Yeah.
If you need a barrier, a cement barrier. All right, I would much prefer to see those with flowers in them as opposed to the Jersey barriers. So
what I would say is
that's possible.
Those are being used on Main Street right now. Steve, you're showing that you haven't been on Main Street recently. There are plenty of them on Main Street. They're just they can't be the leading edge on the side. They're kind of used on so.
The only ones I've seen are on Oak Street.
No, so
there's some on Main Street.
There's some on Main Street now. Steve, you should come on down to Main Street.
But what is the rule? So what is the rule? What is the rule you have to follow?
So the leading edge in that essentially the barriers that are running parallel there on the street, those need to be on Main Street. They have to be pinned. Those Jersey barriers have to be pinned.
Pinned.
Yeah, they have to be pinned together. And that's why we have to have that leading edge. And that's why for folks who kind of remember the difference between we're now in iteration 3, right, of our outdoor dining. The first year that we didn't have to follow that rule. We had a different layout. And then in year 2, DOT had us pin those, which is why it's laid out the way it is. On the side street, there's different rules, right? Which is why Oak Street, right, has those planters. Now, this year for the first time on Main Street in areas where it is allowed. We're using those planters, and it looks nice. I would also say that the big challenge we have, and for anybody who was paying attention at those city council meetings, there are ways to get crash tested kind of these these parklets that aren't Jersey barriers, but these are very, very expensive. It's a big investment, and
the ones you're talking $20,000 for a parklet.
Yeah, and it's like this.
Yeah,
it's like and I think rightly so. The councils and the city was like, if we're going to make investments, they should be long-term investments that improve the downtown, not spending a lot of money on a temporary solution.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I think what we're seeing in a lot of these, like if you're bringing up the Old Port. There's more flexibility there, of course, but they're also, they're seeing a lot of traffic with the outdoor space, so they're making these big investments in it. And it seems, and if it's working out, that's great. For Rockland, really, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find strategic areas where we can add more outdoor seating. I mean, I hope we get to talk a little bit about the Thorndike Loop kind of parklet, but in the pocket park back there. But I think we're trying to find long-term solutions that get at this idea of how do we create more public space downtown without disrupting parking and traffic flow tremendously. One of the things that I know has been brought up time and time again over the last 2 years is this pandemic has really showed just how little seating there really was on Main Street, right? And that's why, I don't know if you walk downtown and you see the seating on Winter Street that the CMCA...
You're talking about benches.
Yeah, and tables. I mean, if you on Winter Street now, the CMCA has provided those tables and chairs. Again, those are for public use. Those aren't a part of any business. Every time I walk by, people are sitting at those tables and chairs. And again, they don't have to be customers of ABC or any of the surrounding businesses. You can just come down there and sit there.
And also that other area up there by Cafe Miranda, Oak Street, and the coffee shop. That area there too is a lot of things going on there, and that's starting to look much nicer.
Yeah, I think people, the best thing that people can do, and I think this is what you're encouraging them to do, is either calling into this show and writing to council and kind of letting people know what you think about things. I think every month there are public meetings where people can come in and voice their either support or displeasure with some of these things. But all I can do is look at the numbers and say that when I talk to the restaurants, they're seeing great demand for people wanting to sit outside. And when we look at the studies and they tell us when you do things like extend those sidewalks and you create these bump outs, it does make it safer downtown. And across the board, what we heard for people who were attending any of those meetings was people are very, very concerned about just safety downtown. And I think we were also hearing from people paying attention to the council meetings that our police are stretched thin. It's like, because I think you had an idea about putting a police officer down there. I think you might have brought that up a few times.
Yeah.
And you're seeing like it's like these are, we have to find solutions, but we can't do exactly what.
I know. We've just got a few minutes left, and there's two things that I really am anxious to hear about. One that you just mentioned is the what we're calling the Thorndike Loop.
Thorndike Loop.
Thorndike Loop. I love that.
Okay.
And then the other thing I'd like you to touch on is the fellow that's just purchased the building down on the north end of Main Street that wants to put some sort of a entertainment center in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk Thorndike Loop first, because that's something that obviously Joe and I are very knowledgeable about, and then I'm happy to share a little bit about the kind of 500 Main Street is the building you're referring to. So City Council gave permission for essentially authorizing kind of use of the space behind Main Street, which is technically kind of where the Thorndike parking lot is. There's a strip of grass there that I think is called Kimball Way, and then I think that area technically is called the Thorndike Loop. But what a lot of people don't know is there's a about and Joe, you correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think it's around 4,000 square feet.
Yeah, that's what I came up with when I measured it. And we're talking about there is a space behind, so the buildings where Suzuki is and all the buildings in that part of Main Street on the back, there is behind them there is the parking lot, but between those buildings and the parking lot there's about 20, 25 feet of, in some cases, paved, with pavers, and behind Suzuki's it's grass. And then if you keep going south on that, you come to a place where a building sticks out further, and so in that corner there's a little grassy park there, a couple of trees.
Which is
it's a nice spot.
It's technically a city park, I believe.
And it's technically a city park. So that's what we're talking about, that space and how to make it work. And that's where my son and a couple of his friends last summer, and they're planning to do it again this summer, have been doing a yakisoba takeout behind Suzuki's. And there's some picnic tables there, and it's just a nice place, and I hope to see it developed, and David's been eager to make things happen.
How is that
there.
development going?
So as I mentioned, we have city permission. We are working on the design and the programming of that space. The big challenge that we're working through right now is we have talked for a while about trying to create a beer garden back there, and we're just trying to work through the logistics of that and figure out the mechanism that will allow us to have kind of a beer garden back there. We obviously love that there are tables back there, and we can create a really enjoyable area. But the ability to kind of have a beverage back there and kind of make it into a beer garden feel, where in the idea would be that we would have an open ear kind of beer garden back there, but because of the proximity to all of our downtown restaurants that are that serve takeout and food, and curbside kind of pickup, that if this summer you wanted to come down and get takeout from any number of our restaurants and come sit in that area, and you could also order a beer at the beer garden, listen to some music. What a great experience that would be. Mm-hmm. So what we're trying to figure out is two things. We're trying to program it with some live music. So I think, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think our plan is to kind of for July and August, no matter what, really have a pocket park back there, and then kind of the next phase of that we're hoping to do is to have live music on kind of Friday evenings, but also potentially, and again we're still working on this, having a kind of a temporary stage potentially, that if on like another night, if a musician wanted to come down with their guitar and and a stool and play for people sitting back there, that they could do that. And the third phase of that would be we're hoping to have beer back there. Obviously, something I'm working on with Joe and Richard from Liberator, and we're trying to figure out how to make it happen, and I hope that we are. I see Steve looking at the clock.
Well,
we're gonna have to go. I'll just say I talked to Terry Pinto, and he said, just do it. Okay.
You putting that on the radio? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So there you go. Well, we're going to be back. We're going to be back.
Well,
Thank you,
Dave. Dave back. And,
we will.
About,
and since we have very little time, I just want to mention that next Wednesday night we're going to have Sam Hunkel, who is running for governor. There are going to be 3 candidates for governor, 1 independent, and that's Sam. And he's going to be our guest here. And then after the show, he's going to be going over to the St. George Grange and giving a talk at the St. George Grange. So
that's next Wednesday at 5 o'clock on the Metro Show. You'll be able to hear our third candidate for governor. And then the following week, we are going to have the new director of the rec center, and we're going to be talking about the rec center and everything going on there. So we hope you'll...
Final plug?
Yes, final plug.
Saturday, June 18th, come on down to Main Street.
Summer solstice.
Okay.
All right.
See you then.
Thanks, Dave.